I forgot to mention on Monday, this is finale week. That's right. It's finale week throughout the rest of this week. Because on Saturday it's gonna be our season finale of season 6. But don't worry, our back to school one's gonna happen in July on the GMB YouTube channel. We'll explain more at the end of the broadcast. But speaking of school, the new school year 2023-2024 is happening, and one school district is deciding to do metal detectors. Some people are happy with it, and some people are not. Take a look.
New tonight, we have learned some Grand Rapids public schools will be getting metal detectors next year. The superintendent talked to News 8 ahead of a school safety forum tonight, but didn't name which schools were getting the machines. Along with safety, tonight's forum also focused on mental health. Parents got to ask questions to a panel of mental health experts. The superintendent says it's a priority.
There's not ever a place where you get to the point of like, we're done. It's continual, and it's important that we continually engage our families, engage our staff, engage our scholars around what this possibly looks like, because mental health and wellness and safety is not only a school issue, it's a community issue.
The superintendent also said GRPS administration is set to decide in August on whether to continue that backpack ban into next school year.
That backpack ban and that metal detector brings us to our safety break, which, by the way, I need to show y'all that for safety purposes and for safety reasons and for reasons for safety break, I am wearing a safety vest as part of this show. Just to show y'all that throughout safety break, I am wearing a safety vest as a precaution to make sure that y'all are safe out there. This is a reflective safety vest that you can buy on Amazon or Walmart for a good cheap price. I think it's like $13, $14 or something. But yeah, it's just an example. These are reflective, and these babies will help out even when you're walking in the dark. And speaking of walking in the dark, we're gonna talk about what you can't. Because really, I see people walking out in the dark, and they're wearing all black. No. You need to, because I know from walking out in the dark, I know what you can and cannot wear. Trust me. I know what I'm talking about here. So let's have a heart-to-heart discussion. When you're going out at night, you need to make sure you wear light and reflective clothing. This is not an example of light. This is dark. Dark colors will not be able to reflect the dark. However, if you decide to wear dark colored clothing, you need to have your safety vest with you at all times. They come in yellow, light green, they come in orange, and the silver right here. These represent the reflective. So make sure you have that on with you at all times. You can get these at Walmart or any others. Light green and orange are the ones, but there's also light pants you can have. These reflect off the dark. And if you have hats work best, hats work great. So that's basically one safety tip gotten done here. So moving on to more of our safety break here. It's all about those sorry about that. It's all about those backpacks, those clear backpacks. Let's take a look.
Become a
County Public Schools announcing a major new safety measure parents need to know about. Starting next school year, all bags carried by students will have to be see-through. While some students aren't too happy about it, others say, well, it's necessary. CBS News Miami's Anna McAllister has this story.
Broward County school officials say they're switching to these clear bags to ensure the safety of kids in schools, but students I spoke to say they don't like it and they believe it's an invasion of privacy. Another school scare in Broward County leads to the arrest of an 18-year-old Taravella student on Friday. Police say she confessed to posting a thread online stating, "Friday, I will make history as the top school slaughter." Hours after the unfounded threat was made, Broward County Public Schools made this announcement.
Beginning in the 2023-24 school year, only clear backpacks and bags will be allowed on district school campuses.
This means that students can't walk around with bags like this one anymore. They have to switch to a tote like this to ensure that there's no weapons in the bag. This includes book bags, lunch boxes, fanny packs, purses, and duffel bags.
It applies to all students from pre-K through 12. Teachers, staff, volunteers, and visitors are not required to use clear purses and bags.
But students we spoke to say they aren't thrilled about the changes.
I don't like it. Like, the people is looking that I have in my backpack, and I don't feel great with it.
Honestly, I think it's not fair for the people who aren't related to like any gang stuff and like bad things in general. I think it's an invasion of privacy. If they really are like going to bring guns and stuff in school, I think that they will find a way to like bring them, and so I don't think that clear backpacks are the reason.
There are some exceptions to the rule, though. This includes pouches for personal hygiene products, thermals that are kept inside of clear lunch boxes, and cases that are approved by the school for athletic and band equipment. For now, reporting in Coral Springs, Anna McAllister, CBS News, Miami.
So what's the common sense aspect about all this for safety purposes? I'll explain next. Stay with us. Common sense alert. For safety purposes, it's common sense, or what I call CSS, common sense safety. Well, people say, well, it's an invasion of my privacy. Listen, if the school district says that you have to be able, that you cannot have, that you can have a clear backpack, then you can have a clear backpack. Many people may be against this. Many people may not be against it. But when you're dealing with people, if your school has a policy which says you cannot have, that you need a clear bag, then okay. If it's optionary, then okay. If school, after school events have clear backpack policies. And 2 months ago, Dallas, Fort Worth, they're going to decide on a clear backpack policy. There's already clear back policies in sporting events in every school district. They're having a clear back policy for all sports, meaning that if you're going to bring something with you, it needs to be in a clear bag. They will search through the bag. It's a see-through bag. Because a lot of times they have weapons in there, and no one else knows. So let me take this off for a second here. But to explain to a common sense perspective here, we at least have to try to understand that safety is the number one priority. Hence the term for this safety vest that I have here. Great tool to use and a great one to buy, like we talked about earlier. So if you don't have one, I recommend you get one. For your own safety, of course. But going back to our clear backpack policy, take a look at this news clip.
On Monday, all students grades 6 and up in one North Texas school district will be banned from bringing backpacks to school. DeSoto ISD says it's implementing the no backpack policy as a safety measure. But zero specifics about why the rush, with less than 5 weeks actually left in the school year. That means students will have to figure out a way to carry school supplies, computers, and other items around with them without a backpack. Fox Sports' Peyton Yeager live in DeSoto with more on the story. Peyton.
Steve, the district says this is a precaution for the remainder of the year. Now, if students want to bring a bag to school, it has to be a small clutch-sized bag like this sandwich bag right here. This is the example of the size they gave us. And even if they do bring a clutch bag, that bag will also be checked.
Friday,
Friday was the final day Nikisha Williams' son, Ray, could bring his backpack to DeSoto High School for the rest of the school year. Out of an abundance of caution, starting Monday, April 24th, DeSoto ISD is asking grades 6 through 12 to not bring backpacks on campus. Williams says she doesn't agree with the change.
Books and papers and pens, things that are essential for them to have in school, they need to have those items available to them.
Students can bring a small clutch the size of a sandwich Ziploc or a pencil bag for sanitary care or personal hygiene items.
What can you put in a sandwich bag? No pencils. What? You can't put your papers in there. If there's books, you can't put books and things like that in there.
The district is hoping the backpack ban for the last 6 weeks will reduce unruly distractions and concerns and allow for a smoother remainder of the school year.
I have stuff I gotta bring home from my sports locker and a bunch of other stuff too.
If students decide to bring a backpack, they must drop it off in a designated area and pick it up after the final bell. Students also in extracurricular activities like sports or band will also have their own separate areas for bags. Security will also be making regular rotations in and outside of campuses. School officials say without the backpacks, staff can put their eyes on the students without having to take the time to search through belongings. DeSoto ISD hasn't disclosed any weapons found on campus or unruly behavior in recent months, but neighboring districts have. In March alone, one student was killed and another injured when police say a 15-year-old Arlington Lamar High School student brought a shotgun to campus in his backpack and shot them. A student at Thomas Jefferson High School in Dallas was shot in a school's parking lot. And a Fort Worth middle school student brought a gun on campus. Following Uvalde, Dallas ISD implemented a clear or mesh backpack policy for middle and high schoolers this year. Back in DeSoto, students left school for the weekend with backpacks for the last time this school year.
I guess so, because I guess a lot of kids are sneaking, weapons in their backpack and stuff like that.
Parent Toya Williams understands the safety concern, but also questions how her daughter Anaya will adjust.
Carrying that stuff in hand is it's difficult.
In addition to the backpack ban, DeSoto ISD is also saying it's going to limit traffic in the hallways, and it's also asking parents to pick up your child as close as possible to the final bell. Steve, back to you.
All right, and I gotta ask, you talked with kids, you talked with their parents, those kids would know, I guess, if something happened on campus. Do any of them know of a specific scare or something that might have prompted all this the last 5 weeks of school year?
No one told us any scare at all. They just said that they got an email this week from the district saying that they were not allowed to bring backpacks. We previously reported on this, but this was just a reminder. And then today, at the final bell, there was an announcement to remind those kids to not bring backpacks on Monday, but no scare has been disclosed to the public at this moment.
Got it.
But kids are being scared. So that school district, common sense alert. If you want to implement a no backpack policy and just give them small clutch bags, how are you going to fit a damn book in there? You can't fit a book in a small bag. Like, this bag right here, it can hold change. Will it hold something like a video game? Let's try it out. It fits, but it won't close. Let's try some earbuds. It closes good. Let's add, I don't know what we can do. Let's add one more earbud. Let's add in a Sharpie. Let's add in a pen. Okay, here's some. You add in all these, you zip it up, it's good. You can't fit a book, you can't fit paper in there. What the hell? You might as well use this to pack a sandwich. Not freaking paper. Not freaking put in stuff that you need. I mean, pencil bags are acceptable, but if you're gonna have a banned backpack policy, you don't have to bring. Just get them some clear bags. Not this. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. You're scaring. You're saying, "Oh, we don't have a scare tactic." Well, you were scaring kids with this, with something like this. What you have to do? Full paper burn in here? What about other things? What about books? You're gonna have to carry like 10 pounds of books. Their back's gonna break. You may end up being sued. You might as well just use this. You might as well use some of this to wipe your ass with. And you might as well start saving up that toilet paper. Because it's worth it. But not something else like these. I mean, this is acceptable. This is acceptable. This is acceptable. Acceptable, sorry. All these right here are acceptable. But you decide, oh, we're not gonna have a clear back. We're not gonna have a backpack policy. Yeah, let's just give them bags. Okay, here's a bag. 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 No backpacks. What are you gonna do? Walk in with a backpack, going, yeah, I'm going to school. You have a backpack on you. Give it to me. Let me see what you got in here. There's a gun in here. You're out of here. I mean, if it's the reason why you want weapons in here, okay, we'll have a clear backpack policy. That way y'all can see the weapon in here. But small sandwich bags, give me a break. Pack a sandwich. Pack a lunch. Have a clear backpack policy, or don't have people in backpacks. There's lockers for a reason. There are lockers for a reason. Your tiny minds don't have common sense. So that's what the whole show's about. Coming up next, the iron, the coffee maker, you want to make sure those are turned off. But what about something in your dryer? Lee Thompson will explain. Stay with us. It's a mental checklist many of us go through when we leave the house. What, if anything, do we leave on? The iron, the coffee maker, the oven, the stove. You want to make sure those are turned off. But we leave one device on that's running, thinking it's perfectly safe. But you may be wrong. As you're about to see, this stuff can really burn. Here's Lee Thompson.
For more than 20 years, New Hampshire Deputy Chief Stephen Goldsmith has been fighting all sorts of fires. But there is one fire, a house fire more than 3 years ago, that he remembers most.
The road was blocked off. There's a lot of firefighters, a lot of trucks, still a lot of smoke billowing from the eaves and the structure of the house.
That house was his own. In less than an hour, it was gutted by fire. At the time, he knew his wife and children were safe, but he sensed the family had lost just about everything else.
We had 3 dogs. I was hoping that the 3 dogs had gotten out, but the 3 dogs did not get out.
And the fire chief was in for another shock when investigators determined the fire's source, the clothes dryer. According to national estimates, 14,500 dryers catch fire every year, killing on average 10 people. 2 years ago, a dryer fire at an Alabama daycare center claimed several children. And as we'll show you in just a minute, dryer fires start easier and spread faster than you might think.
Most people leave their home without even giving a thought that the dryer is on. My wife knew the dryer was on.
In Goldsmith's fire, investigators assumed a short in the wire had caused the spark. The bigger question was what fueled the fire. Investigators finally came to the conclusion it was something so tiny, even they had overlooked it.
The little bit of lint that accumulates is very combustible. It's dry, it's easily ignitable, and can spread very quickly.
In fact, fire officials believe lint is a leading reason why dryer fires become so destructive. They say if lint gets into the machine's heating element, it can be the very thing that sparks and fuels a fire. How so? Dateline decided to find out. We started this well-respected laboratory in Portland, New York. There, with the help of laboratory engineers, we drill holes molds in this dryer and slip tiny cameras inside. Next, the lab's engineers blow lint into the dryer's heater. Fire officials and engineers tell us lint allowed to build up behind a dryer for years or even months can be blown into a dryer's vents and then its heater. So the engineers let the lint fly. Then we put the doors back on and turn on the machine. In 20 seconds, we see a piece of burning lint flash through the drum, but it goes out. Nothing catches fire. But just 10 seconds later, another scrap of lint burns inside the heating element. It ignites more lint. Within seconds, the back of the dryer is on fire, blowing out our cameras and the dryer's parts. Very soon, flames are spreading out the back of the machine. Smoke is filling the room. Luckily, this is a laboratory, and there's little for the fire to latch onto. So within 2 minutes, the fire burns itself out. The dryer, however, is destroyed. Imagine what could have happened if this fire had started in your home. We showed our demonstration to Fire Marshal Bliss.
That small amount of flame that had escaped from the back of the dryer would have ignited anything nearby. So you very definitely would have had a serious fire in that situation in the average home.
And chances are, says Bliss, one of the first things the burning lint will ignite is this, plastic hosing, often used when installing dryers. It's highly flammable.
Plastic will melt very quickly. Plastic will ignite very quickly. And it's just one more fuel source to add to the fire.
He says aluminum hosing is much safer. Even the industry agrees. We went back to the lab to see. We put an open flame to 2 kinds of aluminum hosings, corrugated and flat. After more than a minute, neither one catches fire. But the plastic hosing is in flames in just 12 seconds. For Bliss, the solution is clear. Get rid of plastic hosing and lint, the cause of so much destruction. Some people think even more should be done. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission is so concerned about lint fires, its staff issued a report that said devices should be added to machines that shut down the dryer when the airflow is obstructed. Joe McGuire is with the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers. He says most dryers are already designed to shut off if the machine gets too hot. Besides, he says, lint itself really can't fuel a fire. He questions whether more safety features are even needed.
What you want to make sure you don't do is mandate some sort of technology fix that doesn't really get at a primary cause for safety, yet does add cost to the consumer.
McGuire suggests consumers should take more responsibility, making sure to keep lint away from dryer vents. The Goldsmiths sure do. They say they now take every precaution to keep their new home safe and lint-free. Though they admit that may be easier said than done. In fact, when we asked Steve Goldsmith to pull his dryer out, there it was, lint.
That's more than enough. That little bit of lint there is more than enough to fuel a fire.
Fire officials say you really need to make every effort to remove lint. Vacuum behind the machine whenever you're house cleaning. Don't let lint pile up on the screen like this. Clean it after each load. And pay attention to when your dryer is on. Another hard lesson the Goldsmiths learned.
My wife won't leave the house now with anything on it.
Bottom line, says Fire Marshal Bliss, don't take anything for granted.
Most people don't think of the dryer as a dangerous appliance. It's not something you think about when it comes to fire. But it will spread very quickly. It will spread smoke throughout the house, which will prevent people from getting out and get a very serious fire very quickly.
To find out if your dryer is safe, visit our website at dateline.msnbc.com.
Well, let's explain this. I mean, sorry, common sense alert. Never leave the house with anything on. So I'm gonna say, just never leave the house with anything on. The iron, coffee maker, oven, stove, dryer, do not leave it, because that crap could cause a fire. If you're gonna leave, do not leave the oven on, because that can start a fire and you're going to wonder, what did I do? That's going to cause people to not have kids anymore. Because of that silly behavior. And whenever you hear silly behavior like this, it's like, okay, well, what do? Turn everything off, unplug everything, even the dryers. If there's lint, you vacuum it. If there's lint in the thing, you need to take it out right away. If you don't do that, that can start a fire. So, important safety tips. Thanks to Lee Thompson for that. Come up next. You ever heard of a sprinkle? You ever put real sprinkle stuff in your diet thinking you can lose some weight? This doctor thought so, and Josh Bankowitz is going to explain to you this diet. Stay with us. Now for a story on the Oxford family. You all know the usual story. Ethan Crumley shot up the school November 30th. The parents get arrested. They're charged for involuntary manslaughter. Ethan's charged with murder. Ethan and the parents are in jail. But there is now new evidence that can reveal Jennifer Crumley's conscience of guilt. Remember, one of the parents bought Ethan the gun for Christmas. That's what he used to shoot up the school. But remember, it was supposed to be under lock because no one could figure it out. You couldn't figure it out. But at that point in time, they knew. So the parents were under arrest for involuntary manslaughter. There are more details about this. Let's look at Fox 2. It says the King's finally reviews more details that the prosecution says prove Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumley's parents were negligent ahead of the crime. Since November 30th of last year, shooting prosecutors have claimed James and Jennifer Crumley were grossly negligent. They accused of buying Ethan the gun, the school shooting, just days before. The new court filing dives deeper into the accusation with more messages between Jennifer and James showing they discussed Ethan's mental state in March of 2021, which was months before the shooting. In exchange on March 8th, Jennifer messaged James saying she was freaking out because she couldn't reach Ethan after school. She also was frustrated with James not picking Ethan up because he's upset and I don't want him to do anything stupid. So that was March. That was before the actual shooting. The filing also reveals that Jennifer allegedly told an interviewer after the shooting that she didn't even look at him closely, referring to disturbing photos Ethan drew on a math test ahead of the shooting. She also allegedly said, "My biggest fear was that he was going to turn the gun on himself." The prosecution wrote, "Such fear only highlights the foreseeability of their son using the murder weapon, whether it be on himself or others." That's what the prosecution says. But here's the thing. Hadn't Jennifer picked up her son, looked at the drawings, and asked what's going on, took him to some therapist, there wouldn't be no school shooting, and they would have been in jail. Do y'all agree with me? And if you agree with me, that's good. Now the new filing on that gun. In the new filing, the prosecutors also noted that the parents took the receipt for the gun James allegedly purchased for Ethan when they fled after the shooting. They had the receipt when caught in Detroit, according to the prosecution. The defendant's flight and the taking the receipt of the murder weapon during such flight provided inference of their consciousness of guilt, prosecutors wrote. Last month, James and Jennifer currently appealed to the Michigan Supreme Court to have the charges against them dismissed. They both charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. But the prosecution argues that these appropriate charges, noting that the parents failed to keep the gun away from their troubled minor child. Remember, he was a minor, but they charged him off as an adult. They were going to take him to jury, but he's now in jail. The defense attorneys have argued that what the parents did might have been considered bad parenting, but it was not the cause of the deaths. They want the case being thrown out. So that's new evidence right there. So we'll keep you posted what's been going on. In Uvalde, however, more is being done. Like no backpack policies ever since, so we probably won't know. There's something new. The Metro Police are honored by MNPD for heroic response during the Govan school shooting. It's been 3 months since the gunman took the lives of 3 children in Tennessee. They were being recognized by nonprofits from across the country that knows this kind of tragedy too well. So, I'm really happy for them. Coming up, you ever hear of a diet that lets you sprinkle along your food so you can lose weight? Does that sound crazy to you? Josh Mankiewicz will tell you. Stay with us. And then also still ahead, some new changes. This is finale week, so I'm going to explain some new changes. Stay with us. This time of year, when people tend to overeat, you hear a lot of talk about weight loss programs. And you probably heard about the controversial diets. Like low carb, high protein, low fat. Then there's the grapefruit diet, the caveman diet, the hot dog diet. Some are controversial, some are downright strange. But now, the story you're about to see, it's about a diet that seems to make no sense at all as you look at the science behind it. Here's Josh Mankiewicz.
It's dinner time at the Ragin' Cajun restaurant in Houston, and these hungry diners are sitting down to a feast. Gumbo, oysters, shrimp, soft-shell crab, fried crawfish, and no one can resist the bread pudding.
Louisiana, yeah.
But before they eat, they do this. Strangely colored crystals sprinkled liberally on their dinner plates. It may look like they're spicing up their already spicy food, but in fact, Rochelle, Carolyn, her husband Philip, Leanne, and Olivia are part of a huge study on weight loss, a study to sniff out the relationship between smell and appetite.
That's all. So this smells most like paint thinner, apple, gasoline, cheddar cheese.
It's all the brainchild of this man. Regular viewers of Dateline will remember Dr. Alan Hirsch, also known as Dr. Smell, the neurologist and psychiatrist who isolated the smells that sexually arouse men and women. Pumpkin pie and lavender for men, cucumber and Good and Plenty candy for women. He also found that the smell of strawberry helps you exercise more. And so Hirsch wondered, could there be a smell that would make you eat less? What Dr. Hirsch discovered might surprise you. Pleasant aromas like green apple and peppermint seem to control appetites better than nasty odors like dirty socks.
We found that actually the more you like the food, the more you like the smell, the more weight you lost.
I would have thought that an unpleasant smell would take away your appetite.
That's what I thought too. I thought, give somebody something that smells bad, you feel sick, you don't want to eat anything. No, if you give something that smells bad, they don't use it.
And to test that finding, Dr. Hirsch went to Houston, branded America's fattest city by One Exercise magazine. He studied 2,600 people over 6 months, including the 5 people we met at that Cajun dinner. They all wanted to lose weight. None of them exercised regularly, and they've tried just about every diet imaginable. What's the sweet smell this month? Dr. Hirsch brought with him these special non-caloric scented crystals, then asked the participants to sprinkle them on their food. The powders are divided into 2 groups, sweet scents for sweet foods, and salty smells for just about everything else. They do change the smell of the food slightly, but will they change how much people eat? We were there long before that big meal. We were there the day they received their crystals.
I can't figure it out what it is.
Olivia Bailey, a divorced mother, told us she hopes that by losing weight, she'll maybe find a boyfriend.
I've tried everything else, so what? One more thing.
Philip and Carolyn Christian, sweethearts in love with each other and with their food.
I'm ready. I'm ready for you to be skinny and Mr. Said Nothing.
Mr. Said Nothing, that's me.
Hello.
All the participants, like Rochelle Yuga, kept a video diary for us to prove they were actually using the scented powders.
Listen, I'm trying to lose weight.
And they were.
I've noticed that I've lost some inches.
In fact, schoolteacher Leanne thought it would be a lesson for her students.
I told them I'm going to get skinny and they can watch me, but they're real excited.
Back at the Cajun restaurant, dinner looked great, but it was over quickly. Well, when I was growing up, if I left that much food on my plate, I'd get scolded. But they all said they were eating less. And at the end of 3 months, when we checked in on them during this dinner, they were all losing weight.
7 pounds.
7 pounds.
5 pounds.
14.
Probably about 9 pounds. 5.
I think what's happening is the sprinkles are acting to fool your brain into thinking you've eaten, and thus you eat less. So we're causing people to feel full faster by using these sprinkles.
And these diners told us the sprinkles don't make your food taste bad. Turns out, they're right.
We have all sorts of different salty flavors, like here's hickory smoke flavor.
Hickory smoke.
We use.
Wait a minute. First of all, I have the best job at television. Okay, it doesn't taste like bacon. It doesn't taste any different.
You don't necessarily have to recognize a taste there for it to have a positive effect.
And the result is, I can still eat chocolate cake, I can still eat bacon, and I'll lose weight?
Basically, that's right.
You better have an unlisted number. Remember, this is a study, not a diet. You can't buy Dr. Hirsch's flavored crystals anywhere, and he has no plans to sell them. And no one's claiming that what our participants are eating is good for them. In fact, a lot of it clearly isn't.
If you eat junk, then that's really what you are. You're full of junk.
Nikki Lowenstein is the clinical nutrition manager of the MD Anderson Cancer Center. She says she's worried about what will happen after the 6-month study ends and a lifetime of eating badly continues with little or no exercise. If people are eating less, how can that be anything but a good thing?
They're not making any permanent behavior changes or attitude changes towards food, so they're not going to learn how to keep it off, and that would be a concern.
The doctor agrees and says the crystals aren't how he keeps in shape.
Well, I hate to call it diet because diets don't work. As a matter of fact, the way I lose weight is I just go to the gym and exercise longer. But for this study...
You don't do it by talking really fast? But the crystals do seem to work for many in his study. And when the study ends, well, so far no one's talking about joining a gym, but they are stockpiling Dr. Hirsch's powders.
Well, you ought to see what I have at home. I probably have 1.5 years' worth.
So what's going to happen to those people? They start eating again?
I don't know. Maybe they'll eat again and they'll gain weight, or maybe they'll modify their lifestyle habits.
At the very least, they've succeeded in changing their appetites temporarily, which might one day provide a permanent answer for those of us who smell defeat before we even try to lose weight.
Whatever's in this stuff is make my brain say, Quentin, you're through.
Quit it, you're through. But seriously though, common sense alert. If you're thinking about doing something like this, you can't fight it. What's the best way to lose weight? Diet and exercise every day. Stay off that junk food. It's like from Beavis and Butthead. You are what you eat. You have 4 food groups to eat. Sure as hell ain't fries, Chips Ahoy, Hershey's, and Milk Duds. But you can't take advice. Exercise and diet. If you want to lose weight, hit the gym once in a while. There's only one state that requires physical education. If you want to watch it, there's Super Size Me. You can find it on YouTube. You can watch it for free. Or you can probably watch it on Roku. On your Roku TV. Well, I don't have time to do that right now because we got more show to do. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So far, we are weeks into hurricane season. There is time to make plans if you live in the vulnerable coastal area. When one of those storms hits land, everyone else just hits the road. But there's one man you're about to meet. He just goes into danger. Nothing more about his camera and a raw nerve. Here's Mike Taibbi.
Raging winds, torrential rains, pounding surf, and a tidal surge that seems unstoppable. When nature unleashes the full fury of a hurricane, most people in their right minds would not want to get in the way.
I like hearing the thunderclaps, the dark black clouds rolling in, the wind picking up, the trees starting to bend over.
But Richard Horodner isn't like most people when it comes to hurricanes, and the video you're watching proves it. For the past 3 decades, this 53-year-old South Florida man has tried to meet every Atlantic hurricane up close and personal as it's made landfall.
A lot of people enjoy a good storm, you know that, and I enjoy it to the utmost, I guess.
What started as a hobby during his college years turned into a career for this amateur videographer.
The first thing you see when a big hurricane is coming is this big covering cirrus shield that covers the whole storm like a giant canopy over an atom bomb.
A former science teacher and accountant, he's one of a handful of daring souls who battles the elements and competes against the professional television crews to chase down the heart of a hurricane and capture its raw power on camera. Do you see it as a sport?
It's a spectator sport, really. You're rushing to get the best seat, I guess, in the stadium. That's the sport.
Elena, Andrew, Hugo, Bonnie. They're just a few of the some 50 hurricanes Horodner has banged heads with over the years.
As the storm approaches land, it's going to hit a day or two from now. I will take off and get ahead of it to where I think the central possible point is.
With only a car, a couple of cameras, a cell phone, and several days' worth of food and gear, Horodner charts a course right for the eye of the storm, the goal of this dangerous game. But getting there can be tricky, often chaotic, as the hurricane nears land and makes unpredictable changes.
The core, that 5 to 15 mile core of maximum winds, only hits in one spot. And does it come inland like this? No, it comes inland like this.
You give me 33, 42, 36? Horodner keeps track of the storm's position, gathering information that will help lead him right through the most powerful part of it, the dreaded eye wall. But the payoff is getting the rarest of pictures, like the deceptive bowl of beautiful blue that can only be seen looking straight up inside the eye of the storm.
You're looking right up through a donut hole, and it's just a definitive column of clouds 40 to 60,000 feet tall, and you're surrounded by it.
In 1985, this chaser got an eyeful. The eyes of 4 different hurricanes, to be precise.
The eye of the hurricane, Mexico Beach. I could claim that's a world's record, if there's such a thing, for one person on the ground to see 4 eyes.
Horodner sells his unique video and sometimes gives it away. He says civil defense departments, schools, even the National Hurricane Center all use it for training and education.
If you can show them what's going to happen, and you show a tidal surge sweeping over people's homes and demolishing them, people will be more likely to say, well, I better not stay here to protect my house. I'll come back when it's over.
Yet Richard Horodner is out there in the worst of it, by choice. So far, he's been lucky. He has minimized his risks for the most part. Still, inevitably, he has had his share of close calls.
Now, in the ocean, Hurricane Elena, 1985. This was probably the most grueling hurricane chase I ever had, and maybe the most successful as far as a photographic venture.
The quest took him on a treacherous drive over a crumbling causeway on a sea-battered edge of the Florida Panhandle. After reaching his destination, a flooded barrier island, he quickly decided it was time to turn back.
I was in the right lane, and at last second I saw the bridge was not there in front of me in my lens. And I turned my car to the left lane and drove in that half-gone bridge the rest of the way back to the mainland. When I look back at that, I said that was just pure luck that you did not drive over that bridge into the water.
Or some would say pure stupidity that he would even take a chance. I mean, you can see that the causeway base has been eaten out by the water already. Why go out there?
I was obsessed to capture Barrier Island tidal surge on film and was willing to take certain chances. I'll never do that again.
Nor does he want to again experience another phenomenon of hurricaneology, the occasional big one that slams home in the dark of night.
I personally do not even enjoy a minor hurricane at night. In the daytime, I've got my scientific fascination, the visual stimulation, and being scared. At night, you just have being scared.
And that's precisely why Hurricane Andrew in 1992 was his worst experience of all. That storm chased the chaser right back to his home in South Florida.
I ended up inside, under a fortified room, under a table, with 3 other people, listening to unbelievable crashes into the walls.
So, for that hour and a half where you're cowering in the house,
Cowering is correct.
the big brave hurricane chaser is just as scared as everybody
I was
else.
scared out of my gourd.
But it's all just part of the job he created for himself. A job that also requires that he wait patiently every summer until the Atlantic hurricane season begins to rumble.
There's only an average number of 9 storms a year. 1.5 hit land.
And if he has his way, Richard Horodner will be out there for every storm that hits, for the worst that nature dishes out, to get it on camera again and again and again.
And again, and again, and again, and again, with the comment Santa alert. Are you crazy? Get up there with your camera. Gotta evacuate. No, I'm getting this on film. Ooh, that's a big ass storm right there. Storm. Sorry, man. Water splashes on you. You're blowing it. You're blowing like the tornado. Get on. Wow. You probably get the picture here. Common sense needs to tell you, don't go out there and film. You're going to get your camera all wet, electrocution, wires, so-and-so, this and this, blah, blah, blah. That's why nobody wants to do something like this. Almost nobody. Okay. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Tonight's file break. You remember when we showed you that Elizabeth Vargas story about employee rage? Well, there are some of those videos that we've seen. Let's take a look at this. Take a look at this one. And that's when you want to say, I did not need, and you not need to see that. I mean, you're tired of being on the phone. It's like, get off the phone. Sorry about that. Get off the phone and get back to work. Yeah, you're here to work. Not to talk to your friends. Get back to work. Take a look at this one. Now it's the same one we've seen, but there's different ones.
Computer virus?
You cute?
once the woman trashed that office. It's like, you're firing me? Well, I'm going to trash your office. Beer virus? This guy's one of my favorites. You fuck up, you trash up someone's office, you fuck up the computers or something like that, your ass is gonna get viral with a lot of million views, and you too can end up one day on viral break. I'm just messing with y'all. Come up on Friday. The racist hidden camera that I promised you. But coming up on Throwback Thursday. A look at child labor laws and why parents violate them from Children of the Harvest. That's one story you will not miss. That's it for this edition of Give Me a Break Wednesday going to Thursday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Throwback Thursday. For everyone here at YouTube, and Give Me a Break. Stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Have a good night.